Good evening, YouTubers. Welcome back to Shrigleytube TV. This is episode 77. So we're well in there now, well over a year, and you're still watching me waffle about Hillman Imp engines. So give yourself a pat on the back for your, your consistency there and carrying on watching and supporting the channel. I do really appreciate it. Every comment, positive or negative, as long as it's constructive, I absolutely love it. Brilliant. Thank you very much. Now, tonight's video is a bit strange because I did 2 days work before Christmas and I've been off ever since. So David came to see me with his little curly whirly Mark 1 block, which we talked about rebuilding and we stripped it together. So I've got that to put on, and then everything else was about a downdraft head, which you've already seen on Tuesday night. So what I thought I'd do is a bit of a channel review, bit of a waffle about where we are, where we're up to, what the plans are for next year, how I want to go about things. Because I've been off since Christmas Eve, I've had a lovely time relaxing with the family and the kids, and I've had a bit of a think to myself about what I want to achieve and more importantly, how I want to achieve it. Obviously, you'll all know I've got the big move coming up, so lots to think about. Racing, holidays with the family, etc. Got to get the balance right, that's the most important thing. So we'll chat about that after this short video about David's 930. Speak to you shortly. Right, YouTubers, I've been greeted by David. David, how are you? You all right?
Yeah, fine, thanks.
Good drive up here this morning.
Beautiful.
Mate, no traffic is there. I got here in about 5 minutes. I couldn't believe it. I was pleasantly surprised. I thought it'd be busy. Having heard what the radio's got to say about everything. Anyway, tell me about this engine you brought me, David. What's the story?
Well, the story is this isn't the original engine for the car, but it's the right age engine.
Yeah.
So the car's 63. I think it's May 63 it was built.
And early.
And when I bought the car, it came with a Mark II engine.
Right.
But I had this one sitting in the back of my garage.
Right, okay.
This has been sitting in the back of my garage for about 30 years. But right. when I realised that the other one was completely knackered, I dug this out from the back of my garage, stuck it in the car, and drove it down to Devon.
Wow.
All I did was change the oil, and that was it. And then drove it, and it took me all the way to Devon, Wales, and to the National.
Well, for those of you that aren't that well up on Hillman Imp engines, this is what we call a Mark 1 curly edge block. This edge here is normally like a flat casting on a Mark 2 engine, which came out in about 65, I think. I might be wrong there, but the very early ones, they were curly, as in the edge of the block is curly, and there's a distinct lack of webbing, as in there's no bridge supports on a later one. Let's see if we can find, here's my engine here. You can see all these extra webs that were put in. And this is actually a straight edge block, but because I've machined it at a crazy angle to get the VOD angle better. We'll go into that another day anyway, but it should be straight on top there. I can't see it. Must be another imp engine here. Oh yeah, there's another one. See that straight edge there along the edge? That's how it should be. Well, that's how they are on the later block. So it's got no webbing, no extra support. You say it's not actually the correct block for the engine, so for the car I was thinking
it's the correct block.
Yeah, it's
just not the original engine.
See, this isn't strictly Mark 1 because it hasn't got the breather. It should have an L-shaped breather here.
Oh, okay.
That comes up next to the starter motor. This is ever so slightly later. Anyway, not to worry. It's just that we may be able to do something else for you that's more period. And that head is not a Mark 1 head either. I'll go and get you a Mark 1 head. Is it a 131? A 133. It is a 133, but it's not. This is just slightly later. This. It's just not quite period correct.
Well, this one came out of a 65 car.
Ah, well, I'm getting good, aren't I? Yeah. That's why it's. See, if it had been a proper Mark 1, it would have had a Mark 1 flywheel which uses quarter UNF bolts and a slightly smaller clutch. Yeah. This is a Mark 2 clutch. Oh, not Mark 2, late Mark 1 we'll call it. Right, so your concern is that it's got no power. It turns beautifully. It's not got very much compression. That one's got a bit, about this one. That one's got a bit, that's all right. It should be okay on them two. What about the next one? That one's got a bit. It's lovely and free. How many miles do you think it's done?
I couldn't tell you.
Was it using a bit of oil?
It uses more oil than petrol.
Right, that one's a bit mediocre. Right, okay, let's get it apart and see what we see, and then we'll go from there. Right, I've just got really overexcited about this. What we've got here is an original pneumatic throttle. So the Imps, when they first came out, they ran like a diaphragm at the pedal end and a diaphragm at this end, and a plastic nylon pipe. And obviously when you press the throttle, it was lovely and light. Look at that mechanism, brilliant. But they also, another thing I got really excited about is this Solex still has the original cold start on it. It's like a automatic choke. So these two pipes run down to the exhaust manifold. I assume the hot air exchanges somehow through there. And oh, I see. So one of them's right, I get it now. So what how it'll work is there'll be negative pressure here because the engine's drawing air, and that will draw air up here, and there'll be a breather in here, and oh no, that can't.
There's a casting in there that I traced it to. Can't remember where it is. There's a casting that takes the air down to across there.
Okay, I'm just trying to work out because we need the hot air from here to go through here so it knows it's getting warmer. And I would have thought that when the choke flap is shut, there'd be negative pressure there, which would draw air through that way. So how does that work? Right, this is one of them situations where we're going to have to think a bit harder. But somehow the hot air from the exhaust goes through here, and there's like a biometric strip, and it pulls the choke off. Now, the question, are you ready for this, David? Did it work?
It worked beautifully.
No, honestly.
Every time I went to start the car, more or less, it would start first time.
No way. Because they cleared it after a year or two, didn't they? It was only the first 6 to 8 months, maybe a year, that they had the automatic choke, and then they put them on manual choke.
I think they put them on manual. One of the things about this is that when I was driving down to Devon, so I was all the way down the M6, the car got slower and slower and slower and slower. Because obviously, when you're driving around town, your foot's on and off the throttle pedal.
Oh right, yeah.
So, but when you just
constant speed,
and after a while, you'd find the car getting slower and slower, and you'd have to put your foot on the clutch and pump the accelerator
back up again. Yeah, you've obviously got a leak between your two throttle diaphragm and your pedal diaphragm. Right, you're just recharging it. Wow, brilliant. Well, I'll get back to you on this and how this works, but there will be an answer. I just haven't thought of it yet. And I've just noticed something else, David, right? And this is only for the real nerds in the Hillman world. But you see this here?
I was looking at that, yeah.
That is for an oil drain.
Yeah, I thought.
I have never, ever seen a Mark 1 block with an oil drain. Apart from, I had one engine that was a Works dry liner 1965 Mark 1 curly edge block, and it had top hat dry liners in it, and that had the casting lug. But I've never seen it before on another Mark 1. Normally they're very, very slab sided on this side. So that's quite interesting. I wonder if it's a 998. That'd be good, wouldn't it? I doubt it though.
Not with the power it's got.
No, let's carry on taking David. We've got the cylinder head off now, and we think we've sussed out where the power was going.
Yeah.
We think that exhaust valve may have an issue. Now, there's several reasons why the valves fail on a Hillman. The most common reason is they lose the valve clearance. So as the valve wears and recesses into the cylinder head, it's only got like a 6 or 8 thou clearance between the valve and the bucket. So when it loses its clearance, what happens is the valve overheats because it needs to land on the seat to transfer its heat into the head and then away into the coolant. So if it doesn't land on the seat properly, they start to run hot. But I suspect with this one, because it's had such, you see all this contamination, this is just bad rings or worn bores, etc. Because it's so worn, when they get a lot of carbon hanging around, it lands on the seat again. And when we take a valve out in a minute, you'll see the back of the valve seat's all pockled and black where the carbon has held it off and it's not been able to seat properly, and obviously can't lose its heat. The other thing that makes the valves overheat and burn out is when the guides are knackered. So we'll have a look at the guides on it. Interesting, the gasket is nice, and all the head bolts had been copper grease. Now, you were just telling me about the chap. Who was the chap you got the engine from?
Guy Buckingham, really interesting old boy. He was a fighter pilot in the Second World War, and he started his own motor company called Nota in Australia.
Wow.
And he had the workshop next to Jack Brabham.
Really?
And he's been a lifelong Imp fan.
Right. So he probably put this together for you.
He would have without a doubt, he would have been the person who copper slipped those bolts.
Copper slip, yeah. Because I just said to, he said, oh, I'm a bit worried about the head bolts coming out, and they just all came out beautifully. And the other thing that's nice to see, if you know about Imps, you'll know, when they get a lot of corrosion in the cylinders from the bad coolant, or lack of coolant, should I say, they get eaten into on this top part of the block, and then there's nowhere for the gasket to sit. But this one is absolutely perfect. So apart from being worn out, now we did do a bit of, we had a little chuckle, didn't we, because we were trying to decide what year this was. We knew it wasn't early, like 63, because the very, very first Imps didn't have valve pockets. They were a flat top piston. So if you zoom in there, we've got a D66 on that piston, and I'm pretty sure we've got a D65 on that piston. So
which is Guy all over. Guy never spent anything that he didn't have to, and he always had a garage full of bits, and he would have just put it together with whatever he had lying around.
Brilliant. Well, it's obviously worked quite well. So I was going to talk for 1 second. I was going about the relevance of that, and what I was going to show you was how these are built in the factory. Their liners have got like a ribbed outside on them, so that's the outside of the liner there. And they put the 4 liners in like the die casting machine, and then there is some footage of it on YouTube, but there's like the sides come in from to cast, and then they inject the molten aluminium in, and it obviously sets around the iron liners, and then they machine it and bore it, etc. Now, for whatever reason at the time, they didn't want the iron at the top. They wanted the same material everywhere. So it's aluminium head, and this is aluminium, obviously, as you can see, but the liner is cast in just down from the surface. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see it. Can you see the colour change there? Yeah, I've not prepped this very well, have I? Let's get some emery cloth or something to clean it. You can normally just about see where the liner finishes and the aluminium starts. Oh, that's a bit better. Right. You can just, it's really, I can see it, but the camera's not showing it. But literally a 16th of an inch down from the top is where, can you see quite clearly there? The bright silver is the aluminium, and then the scropy bit is the iron. And that's the aluminium flash that is obviously sat on top of the liner. Now, when these have been overheated, they start to flake off as well around the outside, or if they've been skimmed too much. So when we will skim the block after we've bored it for you, but we'll be very careful, just like 5 or 10th hour, just a minimum. Anyway, it looks like we're going to be able to get away with just giving this an overbore, a set of pistons, a set of bearings, probably some valves and guides, and pretty much everything else on it will be really robust. So we can put as many new parts and as much of your hard-earned money into the engine as you like.
No, I think we said there's few new parts as necessary.
Right, okay. Let's have a look at the bottom end. Just stop for a little zoom in on the cylinder head, and like we predicted, the carbon on the exhaust. Can you see the exhaust seat there? It's very badly, built up on the seat, and because they're not on a strong valve spring, what happens is the carbon acts as like an insulator and prevents the valve from putting its heat into the seat and then away, so the valve runs hot, and then we get a situation like this where it picks on it and it starts to blow past, and then it just effectively torches it. Now, I don't know if you can see the play in it, but the guides are knackered and the valves are knackered. So what we'll do is we'll put new guides in it, David,
yeah.
And there's a chance that because this is a little bit of a later head, we'll have to see how big the valve seat will go. Because what we'll do is we'll recut the seats to suit maybe a sport valve, if we can get a sport valve in there. It'll just help it flow a bit more, because although you don't know it yet, my plan for you is is to put some 930 pistons and rods in this. David asked if we could put some rings in it, but I'll show you why we can't put rings in it in a minute, because more than likely, unfortunately, the pistons are worn out. Yeah. And the new pistons are 300 quid a set, right, for standard bore, but then there's no point putting them in a warm bore, because it was just, if we're going to do it, let's put it on a new piston, fresh bore, and then everything will be nice and smooth and quiet. And yeah, that's the best plan for it. Right, let's get the bottom end. Just something to add. We've just put a wire brush on this inlet seat, and we can see, I'll just find a pointer. You can see the diameter where the valve seat insert starts is considerably bigger than the seat. So what we can do, David, is we can put it on a set of Imp Sport valves, which will be, you know, a little bit of a breathing benefit as well, because obviously you're going to go up on capacity, so it'll just work quite nicely, that. Okay, David, I think we've finished destroying your engine. It's now a complete kit of bits on the bench. We've got a theory. It's just, bless it, worn out. You see that ring, the top ringland is worn there. What happens is they get a lot of bore wash, you know, because it's on a auto choke and stuff, so the fuel washes the bore, and then it wears the lubrication away, or so it removes the lubrication from the top ring, and effectively every time the piston changes direction, the ring flutters in the piston and the oil goes behind it, and then when it changes direction it comes around it, and that's like a pump basically, which is why it's burning so much oil. So piston's in the bin. I think we're going to bore it. It didn't have any oil pressure issues, but it's a typical old engine. It's like 1.5 thou down, and it's just looking not bad, but not brilliant. But we're going to have a little chat about what we think the best plan is. It's all standard size. It's a lovely old crank. Is it an EN90? Yes, so it says... no, it doesn't. Sometimes they have stamps on them EN90 when they're early cranks, but yeah, it's fairly early. It's just not the first year of production. Like you said, it's a 65. So we'll sit down now and work out how much of your bank account we can empty into mine.
Over a curry.
Yeah, we're going to go for a curry. We're going to see if we get the husky out and go for a curry.
Okay, YouTubers, that's it from the perspective of what happened last week. The video was really short, so I thought I'd make it up a little bit by going through my phone. I was aware that I had some pictures and some in-car footage and just random bits of engines and stuff that I thought you might enjoy. So I've pieced that together now. I'm going to put a bit of a voiceover on it, and then we'll get stuck into my Christmas stroke New Year waffle. All right, thanks for tuning in. First engine was obviously a 4.6 Rover V8 with some downdraft cars up above the engine that ended up in my Range Rover, which I've since sold on. Then we had the BMW M10 engine from Chevron. That was a lovely engine as well, but about 200 horsepower, very powerful. And then this one is a BMW M42. I've done a few of these in the past, similar to what Tim's got in his rally car in Jersey. Basically a 1900cc engine converted to 2.2 with a crankshaft from a diesel BMW. Now this is a project that I got stuck right into. It's a Pinto engine, a 2-litre Pinto, and a good friend stroke customer asked me to do it for him for his Mark II Escort, so I got a bit carried away. We ended up making it long rodded. If you can see there, I put it on a HTD belt, changed all the belt pattern because, excuse me, we made the engine taller by putting it on a spacer plate, not for the stroke, but for the rod length. So I tried to copy the dynamics of a revving Imp, but really, in theory, what works for a 1 litre engine doesn't necessarily work for a 2 litre engine, although I did see at one stage about 200 horsepower out of this engine. So it's a cracking lump. It's a standard crank, a longer rod. I think we had on a 2-to-1 rod to stroke ratio with some nice forged pistons in it and some steel rods. That's a piston at an early stage. Had some intruder pistons made for it because we ran it on like 12.8-to-1 compression or something. That's the inlet port after I'd finished modifying the cylinder head, because what happened was that I looked at the Pinto head and I just couldn't believe how bad it was. It was just like the air just had to do like a 90-degree turn into the port. So what I did was I put the head on the miller, and hopefully we'll come across some footage in a minute of it. And I basically, I put like an 18-degree angle on it, and I machined for a tube. That's me recording the belt so I could replace it in the future, but anyway. And I machined the tube into the head. There's the milling machine cutting through the top side of the port. So I made it parallel, and then I put aluminium tubes on it. Now, we'll come to this engine here in a minute. We had 2 crazy projects on at the same go. I actually vacuum brazed some lines into a mini block like a beading. Right, I'm not quite sure what this picture is. Oh, this is the mini head. So this is me machining the inlet ports on the mini head now. This was the other crazy project I did at the time. After that Pinto would work quite well. The port angle being changed, it seems to do quite good horsepower. So we tried to do a mini engine, which was a bit of a mistake, really. It was a bit of a labour of love. The engine just got far too involved. I just got carried away. It was on offset liners. I put liners in it so it could run decent bore size, and obviously did that downdraft head there. You can see there the rod. It was on a proper long steel rod as well from Arrow and a motorbike piston. Now, because I'd put liners in it, it broke through to the oil gallery. So if you can see there, I had to run the oil gallery. Each main had its own independent feed, and I used the Hillman Imp oil filter housing as a pressure relief valve block, etc., to make it all work. And it did work. It did do good power, but then on its second meeting in Autograss, unfortunately something happened where it basically torched the head and the block, and the liners got torched between the 2 cylinders in the centre, and that was basically history then. If you see the oil drain at the front of the block there, this is after I'd vacuum brazed the liners in, bored it, and what an absolute nightmare. I can't believe I got involved with all that, but there you go. You live and learn by your mistakes. There wasn't a lot left of the block after I'd finished machining it, which was probably, I should have just stopped then, but anyway, you live and learn. This is my Tim, we call it the Shrigleytube 2.5. This is an engine that I've not finished yet, but I am on with it. So that's the cam cover being machined there. And I think there's a picture of it in the workshop when I did build it up as far as I could. So that's it based on the Lotus 907. That's on the engine stand there. That's when the workshop was first built, and it was still quite tidy. That was a Lotus Cortina engine I did as well, again before the workshop became cluttered and messy. That's quite nice. Bit of a picture there of my toolbox. Look how clean the place was. Can't believe it. It's not like that now, is it? Anyway, this is going back to like 2019. Look, you can see the floor as well there. Not quite so busy. Again, the floor, look at that. We tiled it all. We plastered it all new lighting. Built the dyno cell. Yeah, there's the dyno cell, in fact. I think that's looking through. You can see one of the dynos on the right hand side there. And that's the one that we never used. Oh. This is me in Jersey. Around the same time. Apologies for the quality. This isn't the best in-car footage because obviously the camera's too low, but just watch it after the finish line. The car locked up and I was between two curbs. Honestly, I didn't hit anything that I do not know. Just about now, I think it was. Oh. Gonna change windows.
And his time,
Particularly like the commentary on this one.
32.81. Next up, Nick Buckley in the Incente Mini.
In the background there, that ambulance is actually the
Not
ambulance.
very often we see replicas, but this is the Italian version. Away from the line, a little thicker someone. Yeah, the Singer Shamwell was just a posh imp. I think it had a cigarette lighter. Oh, he's coming sideways. Very, very hot. This guy's got some power under this one. He builds the engines and they're very fast driver indeed. Alright, so just away from the line now, 36 is Kevin Shales in the Rover Mini.
This is called the Sprint on the Avenue. This is all Jersey Festival of Motoring that's held. This was an inlet system that I did for an Imp and didn't work, and Will Parry has since explained to me why. And this is a very special engine. This was a young lady's Rover V8 engine for a hot stock car, and it did 265 horsepower at 8,250 RPM. YouTubers. So we're going to have a little bit of a review on this year and just talk about where we're up to and where we're not up to. So as most of you will be aware, I have lost the love for this workshop a little bit. I do love Moss Road where I've worked. It's been on and off there for 20 odd years. Fantastic group of guys. But I do feel that the job needs to move forward, and one way, that's like a converted office where I'm working from, low roof, etc. A bit like lots of little cubby holes and not particularly space efficient. Whereas the new unit that I've found, I'm not in the middle of Manchester anymore. I'm out on a farm, so great access to it, 3 different ways to get there, away from the town traffic, so it'll be quicker to get to, etc. And it's 1,600 feet of new unit with a modern roof, etc. And hopefully no long-tailed friends floating around nibbling everything. So really excited about the new unit, and what I want to achieve is, now that I've had an idea how a workshop needs to be, I want to make it so that it's more efficient, so that we have a grinding area, a welding area, a building area, a machining area, etc. Obviously with the dyno, I'm not 100% sure what I want to do yet. I love my old Hillman Imp dyno, the one that you watch all the time with my little big white dial and the numbers on it. I do want to keep that. But realistically, the job needs to move forward. I have another dyno there which needs a control unit, which would probably be the best way to go. But I can't help but thinking, and I'm open for any advice from comments, as to what you think would be the best way. Because I've got space at a new place, I did wonder if the best way to go was to keep my dynos for making sure the engines are good, but to record effectively and comparison wise with the proper computer, I was thinking of getting a rolling road, a single roller for the wheels to sit on, and strap the car down in a proper sound deadened unit, borrow the money, and have it all with all the correct telemetry so that we can record, repeat, tweak, and just get the fine-tune them results. As you can see from the way I'm working at the moment, it's all a bit of a guessing game to a point. I'll say guessing game. What I mean is, we're looking for an improvement, but there's so many little differences that can make something go better or whatever, oil temperature, air pressure, all sorts of ambient temperature, this, that, the other. So you need a computer really to take all these different parameters into effect to give you the correct result. And then we can accurately measure and record improvements, which is where we need to be to get better engines. So I don't mind where I am, because I'll be honest with you, the learning curve, even every day this year, has been steep. Mistakes have been made, learnt from them. Obviously, I don't put everything on Shrigleytube, because some of the learns are hard earned, and when you learn them, it's like, that's interesting. I won't share it with the world because it didn't come to me easily, and obviously that's my trade, isn't it? It's what I do, so I hope you respect and understand that. I'm sure you do. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is, I would like to get the job a little bit more professional, so when people pulled up, they didn't have to park 3 miles away down the road on double yellow lines, and all little things like that. If you could park outside the workshop, come and visit me, have a more pleasant experience. And also, while we're on that subject, what I want to say is, my customers, I've got to say, what a fantastic bunch of people the Hillman people are. Everyone I deal with, brilliant. Never get a plonker in the Hillman world. One of the reasons why I stick to the Hillmans, they are just a very good bunch of people. They're all like-minded engineers to a point, So, yeah. And thanks to all of them that have agreed to come on Shrigleytube as well and be interviewed, because that's what makes the channel, is the interviews with different customers, and people like to see how other people are up to with their projects and, what they're up to and stuff like that. So going on from the workshop move, etc., plans for a dyno, a rolling road, on a personal level, I have to say, I did have a big plan next year to go and race the Hillman, the blue and silver one, which I've been dabbling with on and off, but because we're so busy with work, it's always like 3 days before the meeting, right, put that engine in, do this, do that, change that ratio, dig that tyre out, do this, and it's not the way to go racing. The way to go racing is when you've got time to prepare and test and record and then test again and then go and get a trophy. All this lastminute.com, it's a complete waste of time, as I have proven, because something always falls off or catches you out and then you end up with a non-result. And at the end of the day, how I perform in that car is my shop window, and I'm sick to death of making a plonker of myself. I am capable of making it work. I know I can drive it, not being big-headed, but I can drive a Hillman. I know what to do in it. I am being big-headed there, aren't I? But I have had a fair idea, should I say. Maybe not quite as good as James Ibbotson and Brendan Rooney, you've got young guys and all the rest of it, but I could be up there with them given the right set of kit. Anyway, what I was going to say was, I did plan to start the season and do as much as I could, but because of the workshop move, I actually think now I'm going to have no spare time. Looking at the workload between now and April or March, when engines have got to be out the door, I have not got a chance. So there's no point even signing up for a license or a championship. I may as well. I think I'm just going to write this year off. If the move all goes smoothly and we're making money and everything's good, then maybe we'll try and get out for Brands end of June or something like that. But I think at this stage, I think I'll think about it. Rather than trying to squeeze and rush everything in and move the unit and do this and get the car ready and get that, let's just concentrate on getting the workshop correct. Because in theory, I've got plenty more racing years left in me. So that's what I want to do with regards to the racing and the workshop, etc. On a personal level, I'll just waffle for a minute about me. As you probably guessed from very, very early videos, I was about 15 stone and I've been losing weight just mainly through portion control, not being a fatty. I just used to eat everything in sight. And then you get to your mid-40s and I got to mid-40s and I got a bit lethargic and a bit sort of, bit gassy, what's the word for it, a bit of where's the Gaviscon, oh, I've got heartburn. Oh look, you've just eaten 3 pieces of toast plastered in butter, that's why you've got heartburn. But of course I couldn't relate the two together, because I was too clever for all that. So I had to wait until someone told me about it. And then when I actually stopped eating loads of toast and butter, I noticed that the heartburn disappeared. So done quite a bit on the health side. I even go running now once a week on a Tuesday night, pick the boy up for football, take him to football, and I run around the field all night. Do about 5 or 6k, and it's got easier, so much easier. I'm not going to say I look forward to it, I pretty much dread it, but you know, it has got easier, I will be honest. I'm nowhere near as stiff the next day. So on a health front, you know, a few things made me change my ways, mainly because, I hate to say it, but you know, things start to slow down, don't they? You start to realise, cranky, I'm not as fit and just run around like a lunatic like I used to do. It hurts a bit now, getting up and down off the floor, fixing cars. That's not an easy job anymore, especially when you're 15 and a bit stone. Anyway, my target's 12.5 stone. I'm just under 13 at the moment, so got another half stone to go, which I'll get there for next year. For hopefully if we get ready for Brands, if we can get the workshop sorted and everything. Anyway, I'm waffling on now. I'm going to take a break, make some notes and get back to you. Right, I'm back. I'd been waffling for like 15 minutes and I was beginning to worry that I'd lost the train of where I wanted to be, what I wanted to say. So I've made a few notes here. Going back to the rolling road, I am really interested to hear if any of you guys have had rolling roads or dynos, what your opinion is the best way. I've looked at, you know, Superflow dyno and all the rest of it. But I thought to myself, this was my train of thinking. I thought, if we go for a big external unit, all soundproofed, so it can run anytime, all professional air vents in and out, you know, spend the money, get the job done properly. My theory was that not only could we run the cars with the correct fuel pressure, the correct exhaust system, you know, everything as it's going to be in the car, because what I've been most fascinated by is my own personal engines. I've seen how they perform in the car when I make them, so they do nothing till 6,000 and then go mental to 8.5. And I've seen how they are when they work from 3.5, 4, and they fall off at 7. And the way the cars drive so differently, you can almost tune the car and the engine to the type of person who's going to be driving it. There's no point giving someone who's a newbie a good, you know, ex-hill climber who's learning to drive a circuit, an engine that's dead peaky, because he'll never keep it on the cam. It needs to be a good spread, and I think that if we had the rolling road set up with the telemetry and the printout with the area under the curve to be measured, you know, you measure that torque area under the curve to give an idea of how it's going to project the car forwards, etc. Anyway, that's what my thought was. And the other thing, of course, is with the correct exhaust length as it fits in the car, you'd be surprised how different things can be over a dyno setup where you're using a tubed exhaust to an external extractor and different fuel pressure, all different things that can be affected. Anyway, that was my thought on the on running on the dyno. And the main thing was, if I had a professional single roller dyno, we could vent it out, because once you've given someone a lesson on how to you know press start and do their recording, you strap it down for them, they could use the dyno, or the rolling road should I say, and rent it by the hour. So you open a whole new area of income up to other engine builders that maybe want to put their engine in their car. Can we come down and rent your rolling road, blah de blah, come down, bolt the car on, and do all their fine tweaking themselves. So that was the theory behind potentially going with a rolling road. Excuse me, obviously I do need to discuss this with the landlord first. Now, moving on to something a bit sad, we try and avoid any sort of negative or saddened comments on Shrigleytube. We keep it all very jovial and that, but just for me personally, this year I lost quite a few friends. Obviously been in a classic car club with a lot of older people. Obviously coming to an age now where starts to pass, and quite a few of my friends have passed this year. And in one in particular, he wasn't a friend that I'd spoke to regularly or anything like that, but it really did affect me quite badly, because I heard he was poorly at the national weekend. I said, where's such and such? And my mate said, oh, he's been poorly, he's had a bit of the big C. And I said, all right, so he's having his treatment. I said, all right. And I thought, well, should I ring him and see how he is? And I thought, nah, I'll just catch up with him next year. Anyway, unfortunately, he's no longer with us. So I was very saddened, because he was only 51 years old. And you know that they always say the best guys go first. This guy, I've never heard anyone say a bad word about him. He was a lovely, lovely bloke. I met him probably 30 years ago, and yeah, went up to Scotland and spent a bit of time with him and his missus, and he lent me a car and we went out in the car, because my road car had a problem or something. I'd gone up in a modern car and he said, use my spare imp, and yeah, good times. Anyway, very, very sad. So life's a bit of a gift, isn't it? Got to make the most of every single day, because you just don't know how long you've got left. So that was that. So that's the depressing bit over and done with. Race engine, what have I written that down for? Oh yeah, going back to another reason for the keeping healthy and eating healthier foods, etc. is I meet a lot of clever people. You know, a lot of clever people in the Hillman world come to see me. I've got a customer who's a dietitian, one's a doctor, one's a this, one's a that. And one of them said to me, when I was talking about losing weight, and he said to me, if you want to understand the human body, Andy, think of it as a race engine. So I was like, all right, I'm intrigued. How's my body a race engine? He said, well, when you was like 20, you was a fresh 100 horsepower imp engine. He said, but now you're 47. He said, you're down on compression. You've lost a bit of lift on your cam because you're worn. He says, your valves aren't seating properly. He said, you're probably only producing about 80 horsepower. He said, but you're still jetted for 100 horsepower when you're eating as much food as you are, because you're eating like a 21-year-old. And I thought, all right. He said, so eat less and you won't be running so rich and you'll feel better for it. And I've got to say, I probably eat a third of what I ate this time a year and a half ago. I just didn't need to eat all that food. I was just eating it because, oh, it's breakfast time, sausage boy. Oh, it's dinner time. Oh, what are we having? Pie and chips. Oh, it's tea time. Oh, there's a petrol station. I'll get 2 bags of Maltesers. One for now and one for when after my tea, you know. I was just eating for the sake of it. I wasn't massive or anything, but anyway, what I'm trying to say is, if you are feeling a bit lethargic and thinking, check out, there's loads of internet help. I watched a guy, he said watch a guy called Dr. Berg on YouTube. I watched him, listened to him for a few hours. I thought, crikey, this guy is absolutely on it, really clever. So yeah, overeating, not good. So we've covered everything that I think I wanted to talk about. One last thing. Okay, I was just going to say one last thing. I was going to say, and I don't know quite how to voice it, but I think I know what I want to say. I want to say thank you to everyone that tunes in and that makes the effort to comment. Reason being is people thank me for making the videos that I put on YouTube and say, oh, I enjoyed it, I learnt this or I learnt that. But actually, I think, you know, I get a lot from doing the videos as well, because I'm sort of conscious that people are watching the videos and are going to be thinking, what's he on about? I actually think about the job more, if that makes sense. So I'm constantly thinking, how will this sound? Will this look like it's professional? Will this look like it's the right thing to do? Is this the right choice to make? It's making me question what I do in the workshop more, because obviously I'm broadcasting it to YouTube, infinite amount of people or whatever, if they choose to tune in. So yeah, it's put a whole new swing on what I do, making it public, if you know what I mean. But yeah, I certainly enjoy making the videos, so please don't thank me and make out like, you know, I just, if you're enjoying them, that's great. I'm glad you enjoy them. I enjoy making them. We'll keep on making videos. Hopefully one day we'll be able to sell enough hours of time on YouTube that it pays us money to invest in some more kit, and maybe even work on some different types of engines other than imp engines, because I do realise that I'm on a bit of a limited field with my Hillman passion. You know, there's only X amount of people that are going to be that interested. Anyway, it's all good. Have a great new year, and I hope it's kind to you, and I look forward to seeing you the following Sunday at 7. Bye for now.